J-Man, what up, nigga? It's my UK niggas.
Welcome to v4yav Media, Real Talk, where we talk about the realest, most sensitive issues and topics affecting our communities. Thank you for joining us again. Without further ado, we would like to start with our first question. Do you feel that there is an issue with policing within the UK?
I feel like in the UK there's definitely a problem with police. Like in my own experiences, I definitely feel like racial profiling is definitely a factor. Before I used to blame myself. I used to be like, oh, I was in like a certain environment with a certain crowd of people. But then after, when I started speaking to like my cousins and just my friends, people of colour, I started to notice a little pattern that everyone always was in a predicament where they had been searched. And I always found it odd because you don't even have to be doing anything wrong to be searched. But then when I spoke to like my white friends in Coventry, none of them had any experiences. But whenever I spoke to any friend I had who was like of colour, they all had some sort of negative interaction with police, and I think that's a bit alarming. So I definitely think racial profiling is a factor. So I definitely think that's a big issue with police.
Thank you, that's really, really important. It's really insightful, and especially you mentioning a racial profile is something that we come across often within the media, within the community, and something that needs to be worked on so we can be socially included within our society.
Yeah.
Brings me on to my next question. What can we do to improve the lives and living of young people?
To improve the lives of young people, I think a big factor that a lot of people bring up is how the government cut a lot of funding for like a lot of youth projects. So if you go to like these really rough areas like Stonebridge, like where I'm from, like what is there for the community? I know there's still stuff that like places provide, like the church and stuff, but shouldn't the government be funding more of this? Like, what is there to really do? Like, I have like a really expired skate park that no one goes to, but I have to utilize that, but that shouldn't be like that. There has to be more stuff, more interventions, to keep the youth distracted and occupied, and so they can chase other stuff. So definitely the government needs to fund more activities for the youth. For sure, clubs, whether it's youth clubs, just activities, anything that's extracurricular, like school is not the end all be all. But yeah.
And lastly, in terms of the amount of stabbings, the amount of violence that takes place within the streets of London, within the capital, why do you feel that there's been an increase? Why has there been an increase in violence amongst the streets of London?
Ooh. It's tricky to pinpoint. I think there's just a lot of like societal frustrations on like the infrastructure, how everything's laid out, the lack of support. I think when you see a rise in crime, it's actually a reflection of how poorly our society is laid out. Like what is there for these kids to do? Like most of them tend to be young. They tend to be really young. So they get caught up in a life which they easily victimize to. I feel like this rise in knife crime is the government's failing. Lack of support for families, lack of support for them in education. It's just a reflection, a product of our failure as a society to like help these kids and make it better. I think they go about it in the wrong way, where they criminalize a lot of things, a lot of petty stuff like marijuana, cannabis, and then a lot of people get petty criminal records and then they're trapped in a life of crime. So I feel government needs to decriminalize people, especially young people, and actually give them a way out of a life of crime instead of criminalizing everyone. And for racial profiling, it's just one of them. That's just a little spoke on the wheel for like the bigger picture. So if anyone was to blame, it's the government itself.